Attention. Please feel free to come closer.
Crowd the podium.
How much closer?
First off, I want to say thank you to all of you coming out on a Sunday in the middle of a break from school and on a perfect Sunday following our 6-month winter. It's so important to you as I look around and see parents, educators, and most importantly students, to address a very real problem in our classrooms with over-testing.
Sorry.
The Student Testing Improvement and Accountability Act, H.R. 452, was introduced by Congressman Chris Gibson. It has over 30 co-sponsors, over a dozen from each side of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats. Strong bipartisan support for legislation that would roll back federally mandated testing to preach No Child Left Behind levels. Before No Child Left Behind, there was one test per grade span in English and math. Grades 3 through 5, 6 through 9, and 10 through 12. That jumped with No Child Left Behind to 17. In my opinion, and I know that's shared by the gentlemen who are standing with me today as well as all of you, is that we've reached the point where we are, instead of appropriately challenging our students in the classroom, we are over-testing them as if they are guinea pigs, setting them up to fail and not succeed, putting teachers in a position where they are teaching to the test, so much so, and at times teaching maybe to the wrong test because they're guessing as to what that test will look like. When we talk about how it's killing the morale in the classroom, this goes beyond killing morale in the classroom as an occupation. This goes to killing morale in the classroom for our kids. My daughters are 8 years old. I have identical girls that go to William Floyd School District. They're in the same elementary school that I went to. And how wrong is it that our kids don't have the same quality opportunities that we did as we were going through the school system here on Long Island? We also need to restore more control to states and local school districts to make the right decisions at the lowest level. These decisions should be driven from the grassroots up and not from Washington down.
Thank you.
There are a lot of people out there who claim that they are taking these positions on all sorts of issues related to education and doing it on behalf of the kids. I would challenge each and every one of those people who know that that is the leadership position that you should have as a reputation. That if you want to achieve that legacy for your service in elected office wherever you are, is that you get behind this effort to address the over-testing in our schools and improve the quality of education for our kids. And we're joined here today with a great host. The superintendent of Comstock School District, Dr. Joseph Rella. As a parent, I want to say thank you to Dr. Rella. And I think it's important that we aren't just standing with him on any day, but that we are standing with him now. Dr. Rella has taken courageous positions on behalf of our students. And at times, including recently, there have been some who have tried to deliver a man of steel a bruising, and he still stands here today. Leading
Yes,
the
sir. Woo-hoo!
So not as the congressman, but first and foremost as a parent, I want to introduce our host for today, the superintendent of the Comstock School District. I know you will give him that warm welcome, Dr. Joseph Rella.
We love you, Joe.
Welcome to Comstock, home of the Warriors. Work he did while he was a state senator as well. What should be driving all of us, and I know that my colleague, this is Michael Hines, Dr. Michael Hines, the superintendent of Patchogue Methodist School. Just a little bit bigger than we are. And Assemblyman Dean Murray. I met him before he was Assemblyman. And he's been saying the same things, and he was very articulate in the mini debate that took place over the budget.
That's right.
We just saw it a couple of weeks ago. So thank you, Dean. Thank you. We all, teachers in the room, we know that we look for an essential question when we're going to teach a lesson. What's the essential question? For us, the essential question is, was, and always will be, and how are the children? Are all of them well? And I'm asking you that. How are the children? Are all of them well?
No.
We got to keep doing what we're doing until the answer comes back. Every single one of them is well.
Amen.
Okay. The legislation that Congressman Zeldin has co-sponsored will restore some sanity to what has been almost galactic craziness that we've all experienced. I mean it, as parents, as teachers, as students. I don't understand. Well, I do understand the purpose. The purpose is to put public schools out of business and have charters for profit. That's the only reason, because there's nothing about improvement here. Okay, if you look at it through that lens, you're going to lose your mind. If you look at it through the lens of, it's meant to put us out of business, it makes sense. Right? But it doesn't make sense to us. So thank you again, Congressman Zeldin. I would like to introduce now Assemblyman Dean Murray, who's been a friend of public education when he was just Dean Murray, and we're glad he's here.
Thank you all very much. Thank you for coming out here on a beautiful Sunday. And I want to say thank you to our congressman because, as it has been alluded to before, Lee's been fighting at every single level. When he was a state senator, he was fighting. And now, just knowing that we have him in Congress still fighting that fight, because we need to fight this fight on every single level. And knowing that we have Lee there doing this, it is very comforting and very encouraging. So thank you, Lee. Thank you. You know, Dr. Rella's remarks, it was interesting. I'm sitting here thinking, we all are scratching our head. What is this over-infatuation with the over-testing? What is this phenomenon now that they somehow think that testing is teaching? Testing is not teaching. Nowhere where you're filling out the bubbles are you teaching your child how to play with others, or how to respect authority, or how to work and problem solve together in groups and things of this nature. That's real learning. Nowhere do you have an area where a teacher can take a couple of extra minutes out with maybe a child that's struggling a little bit or has some problems at home that maybe just need that extra care, that extra nudge, if you will. There's no time for that because you have to teach to the test, because we have to have the results. I'm going to tell you a real quick story. A couple of weeks ago, we know we had the NCAA tournament. You had the Elite Eight, and there was a game with Louisville and Michigan State. And this kid from Louisville gets fouled. His team's down by 1. And there's 4 seconds left. He's going to go to the free throw line. Now, anybody who's played basketball knows your coach just drilled it into you. Every practice, you shoot free throws, and you practice, and you practice, and you practice. But guess what? Here's this 19-year-old kid stepping to the free throw line, knowing that if he misses both of these, his team's done. They lose out on millions of dollars of promotions to the school. His coach looks bad. His players will be upset. All that fan base, millions of people watching. Can you imagine the pressure on this 19-year-old kid? He ended up making one of them, missing the second. They went to overtime and they lost. Don't think that kid's not wondering if I just made that extra shot. Now I want you to take that scenario, and I want you to think of an 8 or 9 or 10-year-old kid who's sitting down at the class, sitting down at the desk, who's now going to take this test and wonder, what is this going to do? Is my teacher that I've come to love and appreciate, are they going to be hurt if I don't come through? What kind of pressure are we putting on our kids with this? This is insanity. It needs to stop. I thank Congressman Zeldin for this, and we will continue to fight on the state level as well. Thank you. I want to introduce someone now. We all know Dr. Rell has been leading the way, but this gentleman is certainly not new to education, but is new to the Patrick Medford School District, and he's come right out swinging right away, doing the right thing for our kids. And this is Dr. Michael Lyons.
First and foremost, I really appreciate the Congressman's moving forward what I think is one of the biggest debacles that has happened to public education, I will say forever. You know, and not to reiterate something that's been stated millions of times, the one thing that I think of when it comes to anything, when it comes to education, or some of the kids that I see here, it's what's in the best interest for kids when it comes to decision making. This is not in the best interest of kids. If you look at any civilized country, or you look at any other country that is actually performing well, they are doing the opposite of what we are doing here. And that to me makes absolutely no sense. The one thing that we all have in common, and I've said this many times before, this is the one shared experience that we've had. We've all been to school at some point. What I can guarantee you is that when we went to school, and I'm talking to the parents who are here or grandparents, it is radically different than what's taking place right now. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've been shadowing kids. I've been actually sitting with kids moving through the school system. I've sat with a kindergartner, a second grader, fourth grader. I'm still recovering from fourth grader. Sixth grader and an eighth grader. And I'm going to tell you right now, these kids, they work very, very hard. And the last thing they need to have happen to them is to feel devalued by, I will say, an inappropriate assessment that's taking place. And not only is it taking place 1 year, it's taking place 3 through 8. And so I am very thankful that this is moving forward, and we need to keep this momentum moving forward. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, first off, I want to say good luck. Congratulations to the new superintendent of Patchogue Medford. Patchogue Medford's in great hands with Superintendent Hines, and we really appreciate you being here and joining us today for this. Thank you. Assemblyman Dean Murray, who is now back in the State Assembly after a hard-fought comeback last year, and I know that he's fighting the good fight for all of you on this issue. When it's very important to know where elected officials are when you're not around, because you are entrusting someone to be your representative, your voice in a capital, whether it's Albany or down in Washington. And Dean and I have had too many conversations for me to doubt where he is on these issues with testing, with Common Core, with the future of education in our classrooms. So thank you for being here, Dean, as well. I wanted to mention that we are joined by the local town councilwoman, Valerie Cartwright. So the second time I've been with her just in the last few hours. She joined me at a local veterans event not too far away, just a couple hours ago. So it's great to be with you again.
Thank you.
Yeah. And for all of you, again, for being out here right now on this day for this cause. This isn't something that we just take an hour out of a day on a Sunday for. This is one of those issues where you hold your elected officials accountable for if they are not fighting the fight on this issue all day, every day. Because that's the type of effort that is required. I was just speaking to Janine Zazima. We were just talking about how, in my opinion, I think one of the reasons why maybe the bill hasn't come to the floor yet is it might pass. There's a lot of really good legislation. I experienced the same thing up in Albany, where there'd be a really good bill that wouldn't be brought to the floor because it might pass. Well, we just need to keep the effort up. You all are very active on social media. That's very helpful. I know that Dr. Rella posted about today, and it got about 4 million shares or something like that. You have quite a following. That effort is what is needed leaving here. Dean and I, when we got elected in 2010 together, when I ran in 2010, bless you. When we ran in 2010, we were talking about this new tax called the MTA payroll tax.
Oh.
And once I was elected, I had people who came to me, and their best political advice was don't ever talk about it again. They said, you won. You won, so now you don't talk about it anymore. Move on, because it'll never happen. So you have two choices. One is you take that advice on an important issue that when you were asking someone for their support in the past, you said, if I was elected, this is what I stand for, this is what I would fight for. You can take the political advice, shy away, where there's that Admiral Farragut, damn the torpedoes.
Full speed.
This is one of those issues that all of us, with war paint on, have to make sure that we were doing everything in our power up in Albany and down in Washington to do it on behalf of these kids, because it's not too late. This room is not filled with 12th graders. This room is filled with elementary school students and junior high school students who deserve the same opportunities that we got in a classroom with higher morale, with teachers who are able to teach to their expertise, where there's the opportunity for them to talk maybe about civics instead of ancient world Mesopotamia in that first grade classroom. So God bless all of you.
I got it. Al called.